Well, hello and welcome to Talk Time, wherever you are on the continent of Africa. Whether you're in Nigeria, Sierra Leone, Burkina Faso, wherever, welcome to Talk Time. Today, we're going to pay some special attention to developments in the Cameroon. We've heard about various clashes, demonstrations, disagreements, and so on. What are the issues involved? And what are the people who are involved in the developments in the Cameroons? Welcome to Talk Time.
Understand music.
Why are you back? Yes. What do you call?
One casa cry, maybe I got some a dray, Bobo Minimabusia for me, mammy, one to two. A bar, Ontimenda, and a boa fontment, I don't know, go to get, baby, be able to two on Ipetrium, a boa fontment, and you cry a bunny, Male, Papa, Pasua, TB the farm.
Ghanian white woman sway made a buffalo cream a treaty money yinako. Pimples a crow, a jam a proper no one amani yaria would way. What the and chili good siumu. Now the buffalo soap can straswa 5 minutes a chi. Now the buffalo cream a strasso. A best sunny in from a huato. Buffalo herbal products.
O man for Jatunti was a Male, Papa, Pasua.
Well, hello, welcome back to Talk Time. And as I indicated from the very beginning, today we are taking a look at Cameroon. What is happening in Cameroon? Who are the players in the unfolding conflict in Cameroon? What are the issues? And we are particularly privileged to have with us in the studio somebody who is a barrister and who also is described as a nationalist agitator. We are happy to welcome to the studio Barrister Geoffred. Welcome to the studio, sir.
Thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
My pleasure.
Now, what is happening in the Cameroon?
Actually, what is happening in Cameroon now is a full-blown genocide war declared by the 85-year or more old president of Cameroon. I'm talking about French Cameroon, Mr. Paul Biya, against our people, Southern Cameroon, Ambazonia. You will not know what is taking place until you see some of the pictures and you have a look at the history to know where we are coming from. Southern Cameroon, you must know, was a United Nations Trust territory, and French-speaking Cameroon was equally a United Nations Trust territory. It will interest you to know why we became one. But before that, let me take the opportunity to inform you that French Cameroon, otherwise known in its French acronym as La République du Cameroun, got her independence on the first day of January 1960. When she got her independence, the people of Southern Cameroon were not part of that country. And I would equally like to inform you that on the 20th day of September 1960, this same French-speaking Cameroon, La République du Cameroun, was admitted as a member of the United Nations. The Southern Cameroon, the people of Southern Cameroon, were not part of it. We equally interest you to know that the Southern Cameroon was under the United Nations Trust, and the country that was mandated to administer this territory was no other country but the United Kingdom. Now, I think I will just have to take you to the period of the First World War. Just in few minutes, I'll drive you through up to the Second World War, and then you know where we are coming from. It should be known for those of you in Africa who don't know about the history of Southern Cameroon. You should be informed that the Southern Cameroon, together with French Cameroon, were a German colony. But when the First World War broke out and Germany, towards the end of the war, was being defeated, the Allied forces came, took over the Cameroon, and divided it into two. We have the British taking over the Southern Cameroon, and France taking over the French-speaking Cameroon. Did this? That is the period of the First World War. Immediately after the First World War, and subsequently the birth of the League of Nations, where these two territories became mandated territories and were placed under the mandated system of governance under the League of Nations. These people, the Southern Cameroon, have their own culture, speak English, they have their own ways of doing things, education and everything you would name. Completely different from the French. Now, the Second World War broke out and the United Nations was born. It will equally interest you to know that the United Nations in its charter inserted a particular article, and I'll refer you to it. That's Article 76B of the United Nations Charter, which enjoins all colonial masters or territories that were being administered as such to gradually prepare themselves for eventual independence. Now, the Southern Cameroon was placed under the government and administration of the United Kingdom to administer as a trust territory on behalf of the United Nations to prepare the Southern Cameroon for eventual independence. French Cameroon was equally handed to the French. I'm referring to France, to prepare French-speaking Cameroon for eventual independence. It will equally interest you to know that.
So you have a situation where Southern Cameroon, as at January 1960, was a separate country, according to you, and Northern Cameroon had gained independence.
No. Let me make a correction. Yeah. It is not Northern Cameroon. Southern Cameroon does not form part of Cameroon, French-speaking Cameroon, to the extent that people will give the interpretation that Southern Cameroon is from the south. She is on the northern part.
No problem.
Yes.
You have Southern Cameroon,
yes,
not independent,
yes,
as at 1960.
Yes.
Yes. You have French-speaking Cameroon, which is independent as at 1960.
Yes, January 1st.
How did the two countries become one?
Thank you very much.
Or how did the international community come to accept that the two countries are one?
I was just driving there when you interrupted. I was going to say that the Southern Cameroon was being administered as an integral part of Nigeria by the administrative policies of the administrative authority. And when about 1958, the government of the United Kingdom had announced to the UN and the other people of the world that she was granting independence to the Federal Republic of Nigeria on the 1st of October 1960, she was immediately instructed, together with the federal government of Nigeria, to sever the administration of the Southern Cameroon from it, so that as of the 1st day of October 1960, when Nigeria attained independence, the Southern Cameroon will not be part of it. I was going to tell you that the United Nations had sat in the General Assembly and voted in favor of the independence of the Southern Cameroon, I will be referring you to United Nations, its resolution 1514. And this resolution, regrettably, I didn't have time to produce it to give you, so that when I talk, you can go through it. That particular resolution was in consonance with the provision of Article 76B for countries to become independent.
So how did Southern Cameroon and French-speaking Cameroon become one, or how come that they were assumed to be one nation?
Now, when the government of the United Kingdom has made the announcement, I already told you, she was called upon to present a date when the Southern Cameroon will become independent. Regrettably, a date was never presented. The British government, through one of its envoys, Sir Sidney Philipson, produced a document which read that an independent Southern Cameroon will, in the years to come, not be economically viable to maintain a government of its own, and concluded in that document that the Southern Cameroon was therefore dependable. It was as a result of British intrigue that instead of the international community to pronounce a date of the independence of the Southern Cameroon, because in fact it is not that people should not get it that the Southern Cameroon never became independent. It was already voted that she was going to become independent. What was pending was a date. Regrettably, with the complicity of the French and the British, a lot of intrigue. I want to say there was some international conspiracy that a date was never pronounced. It was as a result of British position that another resolution was voted. It is this resolution which I'm going to refer here that will determine the future of the Southern Cameroon. We have a resolution 1352 of the United Nations General Assembly. This resolution did not give a date for the independence of the Southern Cameroon. It rather introduced a plebiscite. In other words, the people of Southern Cameroon will have to vote according to this plebiscite. Will have to vote to decide that they'll become independent, either by joining the already independent La République du Cameroun, that's French-speaking Cameroon, or to become independent by joining the Federal Republic of Nigeria. That is why we legal minds, we insist and we still say that Article 76B of the United Nations Charter, and especially Resolution 1514, did not give the option that will sooner or later be introduced by this plebiscite. Not at all. So it will interest you to know that as a result of this intrigue, this complicity, international conspiracy, this plebiscite was conducted, and the result, there are a lot I would not want to tell you because we may not have time for that. The result of the plebiscite came out, and the people of Southern Cameroon had voted to become independent by joining La République du Cameroun, that was already independent. Now, the United Nations again sat in the General Assembly. In fact, there was already a name that was debated and voted upon. How the two countries, because they are people in international law, how the two countries will operate when they become one. That is a federal system of government that had to be put into place. It was as a result of this that the United Nations voted Resolution 1608. Resolution 1608 called for two instruments, among others, but let me give you the salient ingredients of Resolution 1608. Called for 2 documents: 1, a union treaty, and 2, a federal constitution. That when these people, since the Southern Cameroon has voted to become independent by joining the already independent La République du Cameroun, who got her independence, this is as a reminder, on the first day of January 1960, and that same year, September 20th, became a member of the United Nations without the people of the Southern Cameroon, without the map, and without the language. It should be, let people know that the language of Cameroon, French Cameroon, is French and not English. So it was as a, I think I've explained how the 2 people came together. Now,
that's not substantially different from how modern Ghana was formed.
Yeah.
Modern Ghana was formed out of the Trans-Togo, Trans-Togo Volta region, parts of the Volta region.
Oh, yes, I agree with you.
And also the rest of Ghana. And the people in the Trans-Togoland voted in a plebiscite to join Ghana. That's a normal way of forming states which were under trusteeship, wasn't it?
It is not a normal way. It is an unusual way of forming, because Article 76B never contemplated that somebody could become independent by joining another. It was therefore wrong, and that is why we still maintain that it was an international conspiracy. I don't want to...
So if your demands are met now, what would it mean for all the countries which were trust of the United Nations, whose future was determined by plebiscite? What would it mean?
In an event, I don't want to go yet into that question without addressing one issue.
It's an important question.
It's an important question. Let me address one issue before I get to that.
Okay.
It was expected that if Resolution 1608, well, let me even take it to be part of the answer to the question you asked.
Okay.
It was expected that if Resolution 1608 was implemented, then there was going to be a union treaty and a federal constitution.
Mm-hmm.
As I speak to you, since then and up to now, there is no existence of a union treaty, and Article 102 of the United Nations Charter even makes it clear to our understanding, and in fact you don't need to be a lawyer to read it to understand, when 2% of international law, 2 entities, person, like countries, come into an agreement, a union of the nature we are talking about, these 2 persons have to prove their existence by no other means but by a document. And that document, as ordained by the relevant provision which I just cited, has proof of its existence by no other means but by registration at the United Nations Secretariat.
So you're saying that the processes for the consummation of the union were not complete?
Not at all.
They were not complete?
Not at all. It never even started. In fact, there was an attempt in Fumban, what became known in history book as the Fumban Conference. That attempt, that Fumban Conference was an attempt to implement Resolution 1608. It failed. In fact, it died even before it was started.
Okay, so now a process for the formation of a union has started. It was not complete. What is your demand now? Is your demand that the process for the union be completed, or that the processes which were started should be set aside? What is your demand?
Our demands, we don't mix what. As I speak to you now, our demand are outright independent. Let me even inform you that what we are seeking for is a right that was long denied to us thanks to international conspiracy. It's a right that was long denied to us, and the right we are asking is predicated on the principle of talking about the principle to self-determination. The law makes it very clear. The United Nations Charter and many international conventions and whatever document that form the law on this permit the people who sit and feel that they should not belong to a particular place to rise up and tell the world that we don't want to be here.
But the plebiscite, what was the purpose of the plebiscite? Was the plebiscite not to establish the right of self-determination?
A plebiscite to establish the right of self-determination,
yeah.
In your opinion?
No, I'm just asking a
okay,
question.
but I will say no. I will say no, and I will give you the reason.
Let's have the reasons.
The plebiscite, the purported plebiscite that was conducted to determine the future of Southern Cameroonian was not in consonant with the rules and regulation in force. If anybody were to insist on the plebiscite, it's like asking the court to give blessing to a nullity. When something is null and void, up in issue, we do not give blessing to it. In other words, what I'm saying is that the plebiscite was a nullity, for it was conducted in total violation of Article 76B of the United Nations Charter.
What does that article say?
The article, before I even proceed, let me inform you.
So that we can follow. What does that article say?
The article simply reads that that's the granting of independence to colonial countries and people. And that is why when the United Nations was born, those who sat and crafted the document saw it that the reason of the First World War, the Second World War, was as a result of imperialism, colonialism, annexation, and all these things that make a people not to be happy and choose to go to war. They said, no, this must come to an end.
To what extent would you say that the plebiscite was a violation of that resolution? To what extent did the plebiscite constitute a violation of this resolution?
When you ask to what extent, I've already told you that the plebiscite was entirely a nullity.
Why?
Because it did not give the people of the Southern Cameroon the right to determine whatever they wanted. I will even go further to prove.
Let me see if you understand.
I'm still there, sir. Yeah. Excuse me. It will equally interest you. What was the nature of the plebiscite?
The plebiscite was for the people of Southern Cameroon to decide whether they will form a union with Nigeria or with the Republic of Cameroon.
Yes.
And through that process gained independence. The people of Southern Cameroon were not given the option of existing on their own.
Yes,
the choices were to either join Nigeria or to join the Republic of Cameroon.
I agree with you.
What is wrong with this arrangement?
Thank you very much. Our people knew nothing that was taking place. Most of them, they were just called upon to vote. They did not even know what they were voting for, which was equally wrong. In a plebiscite, you should do a lot of campaign, let the people know what they were going in for. And the worst about it is the plebiscite question itself that was written in French and in English. The Southern Cameroonians in that plebiscite question were never given the option to even say yes or no. So what was taken to mean, in fact, what was written on it was yes and we. In other words, if you choose to answer in English, you have given, in fact, it has the same effect. If you choose to answer in French, it has the same effect. Yes and we. So where is the no? Because no in English means no. So most of the people who voted, who saw yes and thought that we was no, eventually abandoned the yes and went for the we. And they voted. So the fraud in itself was established.
So this is an important point.
Yes.
You have a plebiscite in which the answer that the people were supposed to provide was only yes.
Yes.
Is that the claim you are making?
If you say yes and end there. I'm not satisfied. Yes, and we.
It's all yes.
No, you must say yes and we, because I will now show you.
We is yes.
We. I'm now translating. It should first of all exist in the language.
No problem. It
yes.
exists. So you're saying that the people were really not given an option.
No option.
Because they were either to.
They were denied
yes,
2 options.
Yes in English.
They were denied
or
2
yes
options
in French.
They were denied 2 options.
Yes.
First, they were not given the right to say that they want to be on their own as prescribed by Article 76B and in conjunction with UN Resolution 1514.
So
they were never given the right. That's the first one. The second.
So you're saying that the plebiscite was fraudulent?
I am repeatedly saying that it was not only fraudulent, it was null and void. And in legal parlance we say null and void ab initio. It is something which is
of no effect.
No effect. It is something which is incurably bad. When something is bad, you don't have any cure. It's trying to exhume a corpse and give life to it again. So that is the position where we find ourselves today. Okay. In fact, La République du Cameroun has demonstrated bad faith and has done the worst thing that humanity would have expected.
Okay. Well, viewers, we're going to take a short break from the conversation, and when we come back, I'd like to find out what indeed the substantial differences are between the people of the Republic of Cameroon and the people of Southern Cameroon, Ambazonia. So short break.
Ben, Cedric, Yatra, Mr. Kill. Ah, strong shame, every fan.
Oh, Kusia, a member draw, Ghana Limited for Akofaba, the Piasso Bomitisu, and he said, because so much Madame for Adolf. And what Chairman said, a draw, a Mr. Kill, Nico on her, and he said, no, no, so
it's since time I am 1 million, and running down and put a service on your back.
Mr. Kill. Mr. Kill.
Come in.
Yeah. I don't know. Say that here. Mr. Kill. You should back up. And not the crowd. You know, baby, the men come out. Mr. Kill.
I give you all a boy could give you.
Well, hello and welcome back to Talk Time, and we are looking at the situation in the Cameroon, and we are talking to a lawyer, Geoffred Andang, who is representing Southern Cameroon, Ambazonia. Now, before we went on the break, we were discussing the plebiscite, which formed the basis of the union between the Republic of Cameroon and Southern Cameroon, Ambazonia. Okay. Is there something you'd like to clarify again?
Yes, I was going to say that I made an error to inform you about the we and the yes. Actually, this was a question that was crafted again by this same government of the Republic of Cameroon in 1972. So, in effect, the yes and we was for a referendum that purportedly took place in 1972. Now back to the plebiscite question. You wanted to know why the plebiscite, according to me, and many other Southern Cameroonians, was a fraud. In law, you don't give what you don't have, and again, you don't do what the law has instructed you. In fact, you do just what the law has instructed you to do, and not otherwise. You should be informed that on the 13th day of December 1946, just a year after the United Nations was born, the government of the United Kingdom was called upon to enter into an agreement, and she signed Trusteeship Agreement number 118, whereby she became obliged under international law to prepare the people of Southern Cameroon, the people of Nigeria, the people of Ghana, and many other countries that were placed under her administration to prepare them for independence. The people of Southern Cameroon were not an exception by any other separate document when this treaty was signed. Now, it is regrettable that we are talking about the plebiscite, and I don't want our case to be treated as if people fear that if the Southern Cameroon attain independent, then what will happen to other places that equally became, other countries that equally went through the same process? Because we have not been given the opportunity to even see what happened. And if I must say something, is there genocide taking place in these other countries? There is no genocide. We will come to the issue of genocide. I will equally take the opportunity to inform you that the people of Southern Cameroon had their House of Parliament in Nigeria, in Ogu. They were represented, and in the year 1953 they staged a walkout because they wanted self-government. Immediately they did that. In the year 1954 they were granted self-government, and they had everything in place. They had a government, everything, including the court, everything that formed a state. They had. I'm referring to the people of Southern Cameroon. It is surprising that some other countries that did not even attain independence, or who did not even have a government before Southern Cameroon, today have a government, and the Southern Cameroon does not have a government. How does that sound? Should our answer be in the plebiscite? We said no, because the plebiscite was a nullity. It was null and void ab initio.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, you speak about substantial differences between the peoples of Southern Cameroon, Ambazonia, and the Republic of Cameroon.
Yes.
Now, what are these differences?
I would like to read a statement made by a member of parliament, a UK member of parliament, that was in the 1960s. And the name of the person of Mr. George Thompson. Listen to him. The problem of uniting these two territories will in any event be difficult. They are two territories of completely different cultures with different political system. The one English speaking and the other French speaking in the language of its administration. They are extremely complex problem in bringing these two countries together within one national state. So far as I can discover, no serious work has been done on joining these countries and getting down to the hard problems of bringing them together. So far, only a number of very general declarations have been made about the kind of framework that might be proposed. In these circumstances, a potentially very dangerous situation has arisen.
The only difference I can tell from this statement by the British Member of Parliament is language, French and English. Neither French nor English is Cameroon.
No, you cannot say that the only difference he said.
What is the other difference?
We talk about
from this statement.
Language, culture.
What culture?
People with
first of all, let's limit ourselves to the language.
Yes, these are people.
Is French a Cameroonian language?
To ask me if French is a Cameroonian language, it's not necessarily a question, but since I have to answer it, I will tell you that when a country registers itself as a member of the United Nations, the language of that country is inclusive.
Is French a Cameroonian language?
The Republic of Cameroon has its official language, which is in this constitution, its official language, French.
But French is not a Cameroonian language. French is the language of France, which was imposed by colonialism.
Regrettably, to ask that question is like telling me to be communicating with you, in your dialect.
No, I mean, listen. French is either Cameroonian or is not. Is it a Cameroonian language?
If you ask me whether it is a Cameroonian language, I will say that is the official language of the country called the Republic of Cameroon. Okay. That is the language that that country speaks.
Okay. Is English English a Cameroonian language?
English is a language of the people of Southern Cameroon. That is the official language that they use.
Now let me ask the other question. Should Africans be divided on the basis of cultures which were imposed on us by colonialism?
Virtually, I would say no. And I'm not going to tell you that we are dividing. We are not dividing, because you can only divide from something that was joined. The Southern Cameroon have never joined La République du Cameroun, because I have already told you that the only proof which they should establish is to show that there was a union treaty, because we are talking about international law, and I don't want us to say we should forget about history. In fact, we practice common law. If you must know that one of the reasons why in 2016 we lawyers in the English-speaking region went to the street is because we had repeatedly written to the government complaining on a series of issues that were near to, in fact, to completely eradicate and root anything that was of us.
Okay.
I'm talking about not only language. In fact, what will you tell me?
I was coming to the other one.
1 minute. What will you tell me that as a lawyer, I sit in my own country, my language is English, I don't speak French, my client does not speak French, and we find ourselves in court, in a court presided by somebody who has no training in the common law system. In fact, the magistrate, especially I'm referring to the bench and the legal department, for those in criminal matters, they do their submission, they speak in French. My client does not understand, and I don't understand, and we find nothing wrong with that.
Isn't it true that Cameroon has 2 official languages?
You are right that Cameroon
has 2 official languages.
Cameroon is supposed to have
English and French.
Cameroon is supposed to have 2 official languages. Not that she has. Because one of the reasons why we went to the street, and even now, is because they have imposed the French language on us.
Okay.
And telling us, you get to some offices and they tell you, on ne comprend pas vos anglais. Telling you, we don't understand your English. They call the English your English.
Is it also not true? Is it also not true that in a country like Canada, they also have 2 official languages, English and French?
I will not want us to reduce the question of Southern Cameroonian to that of language.
No, we'll come to the other issues. Yes. But in Canada, they also have 2 official languages,
they have 2
English
official
and French.
languages.
If you go to the United States of America now, they virtually have a multiple of official languages. Spanish is official language.
I agree.
English is official language.
Agreed.
How does that become a problem?
Okay. You imagine a situation where your children speak English, they don't speak French. They go to school, you pay school fees, and the government imposes a French teacher to teach your children. They are not teaching the French language, but they are teaching all the other subjects, history, geography, all the other subjects, they are teaching them in French.
So you are saying that even though officially You're supposed to have 2 official languages. One language is being suppressed and another language is being promoted.
Yes.
Okay.
And that is one of the reasons why when the teachers, he's a teacher, one of the reasons that send the teachers to, to declare school boycott, until the government immediately and forthwith redeploy all the francophone trained teachers that were sent to come and unteach our children.
Okay.
It
now,
is
beyond the question of language, English and French and so on, what are the other cultural differences? You have said that there are cultural differences. Yeah. What are these cultural differences?
We have been for 46 years or so been colonized. Let me not even say colonized, because the British government never colonized us. We were simply handed as a trust territory for her to prepare us for independence.
The Germans colonized.
The Germans are the only people who colonized us, and when they left, the English came not to colonize us, but we were a trust territory, prepared these people for independence, and in the course of it, we have become English people by the language we speak, by the way we think, by the way we behave, how we reflect.
Are you English people?
We are talking the language. You
yeah, but I'm not an Englishman.
I didn't say that I'm an Englishman.
Yeah.
But we inherited their culture. Remember that.
So when you're talking about the cultural differences, you're talking about French and English cultural differences.
Yes.
Not Cameroonian culture.
They have completely eradicated. When you find yourself in a situation where you are being annihilated, that is our greatest problem.
So what about the indigenous Cameroon culture? What about the indigenous culture of the southern Ambazonian, southern Cameroon Ambazonia? What about the indigenous culture which is not French and which is not English? Is it different from the culture of the Republic of Cameroon?
Completely very different.
How?
But I want to tell you that we are talking about a country with more than 250 indigenous languages, and these languages are not being taught in school. It is not like the situation in Ghana, where Ghanaians go to school and they are trained to, even taught how to write the Twi. It is not like our case. So there are too many ethnic groups, just too many, to the extent that you expect people to come and impose their own on others. Therefore, it is basically, when it comes to the issue of language, for those who are from French-speaking Cameroon to speak French, and those of us from English-speaking to speak, from Southern Cameroon to speak English.
But I still want to understand, beyond what is French and what is English,
yes,
are there cultural differences between the people of Southern Cameroon, Ambazonia,
yes,
and the Republic of Cameroon, as you put it?
I already said it. If you had the opportunity of visiting their schools about 10 years ago, you will see how they dress and go to school. You will not be able to identify them as students or people coming from school. They dress in assorted attire. That is not our culture.
That's the school children in Southern
French-speaking Cameroon. They dress in assorted attire. We have our own culture. Our children are dressed in uniform. They look neat and clean, and they respect. They show respect wherever they go. Arrogance, go to the other side, and you will meet arrogance.
But arrogance is not a cultural specific.
These things issue. We are talking, all what we are talking
arrogance,
about.
Anybody can be arrogant.
I agree with you.
A Frenchman can be arrogant, an Englishman can be arrogant, an Arabic man can be arrogant, a Chinese man can be arrogant. It's not cultural specific, is it?
What I'm saying is that the culture your culture influences your behavior. The culture generally influences your behavior. I cannot begin to tell you about the culture of the man from my village, the culture of man from another village. There are just too many. So our question, that is why I keep saying that our restoration struggle is beyond a language, and we don't want people to be talking about language, as though reducing it to a language problem.
Okay. So now you have embarked upon a restoration program.
Yeah.
What is that? Are you going to go to the International Court of Arbitration? Are you going to carry on nationalist agitation? Are you going to pick up weapons? What is it? That restoration program, what is it? How are you proceeding on the restoration program?
All this that you have said, if at the end of the day, it shows that we have to use all of them to restore our independence, we will use them. But I was going to tell you that...
But what are you using now? We are not at the end of the day. We are perhaps in the middle of the day.
Yes,
what are you using now in the middle of the day? What is your strategy?
We are going diplomatic offensive. We are meeting international organization, meeting diplomatic offices, and talking about the Southern Cameroon liberation struggle. We are equally using the law court. We've been to the African Court on Human and People's Rights, Banjul. Regrettably, the court decisions, even though have all been in our favor, are decisions that have not been respected by the Republic of Cameroon, and that court does not only seem, it is a court that does not even have teeth to the extent of being expected to bite. Every litigant who goes to court is expected to benefit from the fruit of the judgment of the court.
Mm-hmm.
And the judgment of the court finds value when, if not obeyed by the losing litigant, there is a mechanism through which it can be enforced. That is where we're talking about execution. Now, the decisions of the African Court, regrettably, do not have an executory formula that will warrant a bailiff to proceed to tell the government of Cameroon that you were instructed to do this and you did not do it. Regrettably, that is how international law operates, because they talk about state intervention. But this issue here, the issue we're talking about, is not an internal problem of the Republic of Cameroon, because the law prescribes that when people begin to agitate and insist on their right to self-determination, it's no longer an internal problem, it is an international problem. And to make things worse, the government of Cameroon has resorted to a genocide war, and as I speak to you now, our people are dying in numbers.
We're going to take a short break here, and when we come back, we'd like to look at the human rights situation in Cameroon. You've already spoken about genocide. What is that genocide? What is the extent of the genocide? Who are the victims of the genocide? That is when we come back from this very short break. Short break.
I'm home. Come to me. Oh, into that come honey, sir. Dang.
Castle. So when you mean to grab the Hanuma, can one carry an acid? Ade, pay an answer. Your mamma said,
oh, what happened? Try me, what for cocoa bit, and it's blue, and answer, so magic. Yankasa be me nim say, what for cocoa capsules? A dray anopa 2, and you minute 2, and your friend say, calamity 2, Graveni, what tin a jum, who is in Timmy Yuma. Unuma drew Wabia, who is in Bedao, Amadeus or the what the
a dray and yama a pim for, one warmer and manu for, and name Mofra when you fear Dumien.
Ghana Faja to Munti, cover 4 at the say, Male.
Yeah, hello and welcome back to Talk Time. And we are talking with a lawyer from Cameroon. And he's not just a lawyer, he's a nationalist agitator for the Southern Cameroon Ambazonia. Southern Cameroon Ambazonia. Now, sir, you've spoken a lot about genocide. Genocide in Cameroon. What is it?
There are a lot of killings since October 2016. It should be recalled that lawyers, as I earlier said, from this part of the country, teachers and the civil society, economic operators have taken to the street in protest of government intransigence in redressing grievances that warranted urgent address. The government, rather than look for peaceful way of listening to its people, even though we wrongly consider ourselves to be part of that country, the government resorted to brutality, arrest, torture, abduct, kidnap, rape, kill. As I talk to you now, we have more than 150 internally displaced people.
150?
150,000.
Okay.
And more than about 60,000, above 60,000 refugees and asylum seekers in Nigeria. The number of pregnant women breastfeeding children and other children in the bushes is appalling.
Is this not the result of war?
That is.
Is it true that the people of what you call Southern Cameroon Ambazonia, some of them have taken up weapons and are fighting a war with the Republic of Cameroon?
I would not agree, and I will never. And no Southern Cameroon.
There's no war.
No, there is a war. But your question is predicated on the fact that is it not true that the Southern Cameroon have taken up arms to project it as though.
Yeah, but if you don't take up arms, how do you fight a war?
There is a war.
Yeah.
This war is a genocide war that has been declared on the people of Southern Cameroon by La République du Cameroun, by the president.
Both sides are carrying weapons.
I don't want to go there yet.
Okay.
That is why I said a talk of government retaliation, government decision, how government in addressing. The government pick up arms, especially November and December 2016, throughout from January to December, and most especially September and October 2017, and worse even now as I speak. I mean worse. The government of Cameroon, through the military, is committing atrocious and the worst genocidal act committed ever.
Yeah, but both sides are armed.
Not to say both sides are armed. Our people, are fighting, are not fighting because they want to fight. They are fighting self-defense. That is the only weapon they have. The people are reacting in self-defense. Of course, you will not expect me to sit and watch you come and rape my child when I have a cutlass to take and cut your head off by any means. There is a genocide war, and it is important to look at who caused it.
Who caused
and who
it?
declared it.
Who caused it?
The government, of course, the government of Cameroon. You should be informed that there is targeted killings, indiscriminate shooting, even with the use of helicopter gunships. You know what I mean? To spray bullet from the sky. Whoever that is passing will take it. There are people, for your information, a lot of people who are either dead or in the hospital, suffering from gunshot wound. A lot of them are being shot from, indiscriminate act from the government. And I will tell you, to go further, the number of villages that have been razed into ashes by the government are just too many. They are both 83, 85 as I speak to you now.
Razed to the ground.
Razed to ashes, or if you like call it ground, or if you like call it dust. I have some of the pictures here. I will hand this over to you when I leave this place so that you can have time to go through them to see what is taking place in the southern Cameroon. If you
no, just yes. Relax.
The government of La Republique du Cameroon has descended on the people of southern Cameroon with machine guns, killing our people. You go through some of the pictures, you see people even burned alive in their homes, old men who cannot run.
So, what is the way forward?
The way forward, we're calling on the international community to intervene.
How? There's a war. How does the international community intervene? By sending peacekeepers? By fighting on one side against the other? How does the international community intervene in the war between what you call Southern Cameroon, Ambazonia, and La Republique du Cameroun?
The war that is taking place is not a war on both sides. It is a war from one side. That is what I would like to make people know. A war of genocide comes from one person. In fact, as I speak to you, it is already transforming itself into a pogrom.
How is that?
When full-scale, whole villages, more than 85, are being razed into ashes, when too many people are dying, just too many, what are we talking about?
Are you resident in Southern Cameroon, Ambazonia?
I am a refugee. I fled since January 2017 because I was wanted. It should be recalled that I'm among the people who started this present revolution. We all started with our mere request for government to, address some of the grievances. For instance, to immediately redeploy civil law trained magistrates that polluted our court, and it was an attempt to completely annihilate us.
So now that you are a refugee outside the country, how do you impact on the struggles of your people?
That is why I said, when you ask, what are we doing? I said, we are going on a diplomatic offensive. We are meeting diplomats and talking to them, sharing our problem. We write up and telling us that they are going to take steps to do something.
Do you believe in African unity as espoused by people like Sekou Touré, Kwame Nkrumah, Modibo Keita and others? Do you believe in the concept of African unity?
I will not take that question to mean that because we are asking that Africa should be united, that the people of Southern Cameroon should unite with La Republic du Cameroon and get themselves completely wiped out from the map of the world. I will not take, if that is the meaning of that question, I'm afraid I will not answer it. Because
you have answered it already.
Thank you very much. The people of Southern Cameroon are not against Africa being united. What the people of Southern Cameroon are asking is for the international community to immediately intervene. We are not asking any country to come and assist or fight a war against La Republic. We are asking them to intervene and ask La Republic du Cameroon to stop the war of genocide that she has declared on us and let peaceful negotiation, and we are not talking about dialogue because we will not accept any dialogue. And even at the level of negotiation, if the purpose of the negotiation, the end result is to ask us to continue in unity with a people who have shown us carnage, who have demonstrated the reign of terror, who have killed too many, who have burned down all our villages, we will never be with them because they have completely shown to us that we cannot live together. Be informed that they have addressed us, referred to us vividly. Many of them, some call us rats, some call us dogs. They have said a lot of things. Some call us Biafrans and a lot of things. And they have already made us to understand that we cannot live together. Their bad faith is so glaring, and we don't need any law court to go and tender evidence to show that they have gone to the extent of not only telling us that we cannot live together, but declaring that you people want to go, you will go, but before you go, we will kill all of you. And that is why with their military might, they have descended on us and they are killing us, and we just regret that the international community, especially African countries, are sitting, in fact they seem to have maintained a sea lip and watch the carnage being perpetrated next door by an over 85 years old tyrant, dictator called Paul Biya, who has been in power for 37 years and is equally going to participate in the 2018 presidential election, as though to tell the people that whether you like it or not, I'm still going to win because he has never won an election, and I'll continue my war of genocide on the people of Southern Cameroon. We are not even interested in the election because me as an individual, I will simply say, and I've said, that let Biya remain, then be like president and even rule from the grave, but let him allow the people of Southern Cameroon go. If they must insist, let them tender before any international body proof of a union treaty that we effectively executed a treaty with them and we are bound to live together. If they show that document, my voice will not come out. I will not talk.
Well, thank you very much, sir, for coming to the studio. It's been a pleasure having you in the studios of Pan African Television. Now, viewers, we've been talking to a lawyer, and you can see that he's quite articulate, and he represents Southern Cameroon, Ambazonia, which is currently engaged in a conflict with La Republic du Cameroun. As African people, wherever we are, we wish and perhaps pray that peace will be restored to the Cameroon, and that the people of the Cameroon will be able to realize their full human potential. This is where we say goodbye to all of you, and we hope that you would always keep your dial on Pan African Television, which brings you the best in news, best in current affairs, best in entertainment, best in sports, and indeed, the best in everything. It's goodbye from all of us, from the studios of Pan African Television, from the director of the show, Adam Lumo, from the production team, which includes Abigail and Becky, the cameraman, the makeup people, all of us. Goodbye until we meet again next week. Bye-bye.